Alright everybody, let's resize some images in Photoshop, shall we? Alright, so we've got our images here. I grabbed Jenny's because that's what we used earlier. So I'm going to select both of those and get them into Photoshop by clicking and dragging, and there they are. So the first thing we want to do is make these the right image size for our div. So we're going to go to Image, and then image size, and it will pull up this little dialog box. Now what this is doing is resizing the entire image according to the resolution and its height and width in that particular resolution. So what we're going to do is make the height in this instance 200, because 200 is the size of our div, and we're going to let this be 301. These are relational. If you uncheck this and then make this 200, it's going to be squished, and we don't want that. So we're going to make that proportional, and we're going to make it 200. So it's cool that this is bigger than that. We're going to handle that in the next step. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to make it smaller. Obviously this is not a perfect square. It's not 200 by 200. We need to remedy that. So we're going to go up to canvas size, as I showed you earlier this morning. This is going to essentially crop the image. So it's going to get rid of 50 pixels from this side and 51 pixels from that side, or however you tell it to behave. So I'm going to say 200. Know that you can choose an anchor point. So right now it's in the center. It's going to cut off pixels equally from all sides. But you could say that I want it to be anchored and cut off all the extra pixels from the left, or from I want all the extra pixels gone from the top and the left. So if that changes for some reason, that is why. So I'm going to click OK, and that is going to give me a little warning that we're going to lose some information. In our case, that's fine. So we're going to click Proceed, and we're going to be left with this. So now if we go back to image size, we'll notice it's 200 by 200 at 72 pixels per inch. So that's good for this one. We need to do it all over again for this rollover or hover state. So image size, make this 200, click OK. Canvas size, 200, click OK. So now I have the at rest state and the rollover state, and I need to combine them into a new sprite. So I'm going to make a new document, File New, or Command N. I'm going to call it item 04 or 05 or 06, whatever you are working on currently. The document type can just be custom. You don't have to stress out about that. There are obviously various options for defaults: US paper, international paper. We're just going to go with custom. We're going to make it, 400, because we want it to be double the width of our individual images by 200. So the height needs to be an RGB color. That is the color space for screens. If you were to change this to bitmap or grayscale, you're going to be a bit frustrated in that when you try and drag your images in, they're going to go from color to either grayscale or black and white entirely. Same with CMY color and lab color. They're going to shift in their color space, and it's going to look a little funky. So make sure it's set to RGB color, and you can leave it to 8-bit if you'd like. We're not going to get into the technical specifications of 8-bit color versus 16 versus 24 versus whatever. So we'll click OK, and here it is. So there's a couple of ways you can get your images onto this. You can simply go in here and with your marquee tool, select everything and copy, Command C, and then Command B, paste. And then you can use your arrow tool to drag it over, and it should snap when it is occupying or aligned with that left outer edge. Or you can do what I showed you in class, and that is divest this tab and just simply click in the image area and drag it down here. So those are two different ways to get it in to the artboard. It accomplishes the exact same thing. So here is our image aligned everything, we're going to go File, Export, and in our instance we're going to use Save for Web. You don't have to do this. You can quick export, you can export as. This is going to give you the most visual control over things. You're going to be able to see because it's going to preview for you what's going to happen if you do a certain selection. So we'll talk more on Friday about the difference between PNG and JPEG, but the difference in a nutshell has to do with transparency. So I'm going to save them as a JPEG right now, just for ease of integration into our site. But we'll talk about when you'd want to select a PNG versus when you'd want to select a JPEG, or if you would want to select a JPEG. So you can see all this is set, 400, 200. It's a relatively small file. We're going to click Save. It will ask us where we want to save it. And then, in our instance, we'll want to save it wherever we have our images. So in our instance, we'll put it here in our coccyx image folder. Click Save. It will save, and then of course it will be there ready and waiting for us, hopefully. So there it is. And now when we drag the index page into there it is. So one thing to note about this, and this is explained in more detail in the Sprites video that I'll be including shortly, but one thing to note is that if you did save this as a PNG, your sprites.css file is going to be searching for a JPEG, and so you'll have to change or append that file extension to make sure that it knows where to look. That should do it. Let me know if you have any questions.